Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqua, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Atikamekw Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Before we take a motion for the adoption of the agenda, I do want to recognize that about a week ago, a horrible tragedy unfolded in the community of Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. News of what transpired was just coming out as we started our committee of the whole meeting. On behalf of the community of Edson, we want to offer our sincerest condolences to all the victims and their families, and let the people of Tumbler Ridge know that we are with them during this difficult time. And with that, I will call for a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. With that, we will take a motion for the adoption of the agenda for the February 17th regular meeting of council. Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
I move that the agenda for the February 17, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Up next, we have the minutes of the February 3rd, 2026 regular meeting of council, and we do have an amended motion this evening that our legislative services clerk will be bringing up on the screen. Ms. Williams, would you like to speak to that at all?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mayor Zahara. I just want to note that the minutes currently reflect 2 written submissions received for the public hearing. However, administration did receive an additional 3 written submissions through the planning department as part of their referral process. Upon review, these written submissions were received within the advertised public hearing period and before the submission deadline. As such, we would recommend an amendment to the minutes.
All right, thank you. Council, can I get somebody to move the amended minutes, please? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that the minutes of the February 3rd, 2026 regular meeting of council be amended to record under the public hearing of bylaw number 2329 that 5 written submissions were received, 2 in opposition, and 3 in favor of proposed bylaw number 2329.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. And the next motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
I move that the minutes of the February 3rd, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as amended.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, we have no presentations and delegations. We will move on to bylaws. The first being bylaw number 2329 to amend Schedule B of bylaw number 2296. As both myself and Councillor Pasichny were away, according to the rules, we are not allowed to discuss, debate, or vote on this motion, upcoming motions, due to the fact that we missed the public hearing. So with that, I will relinquish the chair to Deputy Mayor Fogarty.
Thank you, Mayor Zahara. Before we have our presentation from administration, I would just like to remind everyone that any correspondence that was received after the public hearing cannot be considered as part of tonight's decision. For our presentation from administration, Julie Darling, our development officer, will present on bylaw number 2329 to amend Schedule B of bylaw number 2296. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. I will be presenting bylaw 2329, a bylaw to amend Land Use Bylaw 2296 to redistrict the parcel legally described as Lot 31 to 37, Block 6, Plan 1494AC from the C2 Service Commercial District to the DCO Direct Control Open District for second and third reading. Administration received an application from Reflections to redistrict the parcel legally described as lots 31 to 37, Block 6, Plan 1494AC, civic address 4920 First Avenue, from C2 Service Commercial to DCO Direct Control Open. This is a context map showing the location of the subject parcel on First Avenue, just east of 50th Street, outlined in green on the screen. The map on the left shows the land use districts of the subject parcel and the surrounding parcels. The map on the right outlines the subject parcel and how it would be redistricted under proposed bylaw 2329. This map would form part of the proposed bylaw 2329 as Schedule A. Council held a public hearing 2 weeks ago on February 3rd, 2026. 7 members of the public spoke at the public hearing. To recapture what we heard at the public hearing, administration has listed out key concerns and questions that were raised. Administration, in their report, outlined what a direct control district is and generally how they work. During the process, several concerns and questions were raised regarding what council would allow in this direct control district and how council would make their final decisions in the future regarding the subject parcel. There were also concerns about how the public would be engaged for comment on future applications. This is where administration clarified that a non-statutory public hearing can be held by council and on any decision that they're making to be able to consider public input. Questions around the suitability and security of the location also came up, and it is important to note that the applicant has met all requirements and conditions of their existing approval, and they own the subject parcel. The purpose of the direct control district is to enable council to exercise control over the use and development of land or buildings in a manner they consider necessary. The district provides for developments that, due to their unique characteristics, innovative design, or unique site constraints, require specific regulation unavailable in other land use districts. At this point, it's important to note that the existing use is considered legal non-conforming under the Municipal Government Act and cannot be expanded on or added to. The purpose of the proposed redistricting application is to shift the decision-making authority to council, enabling council to have direct oversight of any future development permit application related to the expansion of services at the existing approved group care facility located at 4920 First Avenue. If the lands are redistricted to direct control open, council would be the development authority over these lands and would be responsible to render decisions on an application made to expand these services without the oversight of the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. However, it is also important to note here that council always has the ability to hold a non-statutory public hearing to be able to consider public input. The subject parcel is currently in the C2 Service Commercial District. The purpose of the C2 district is to provide for moderate to large-scale development consisting of a mix of commercial uses that serve the community. The development permit approval for group care facility was issued under Land Use Bylaw 2070 in February of 2024. The approval was appealed to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, who upheld the approval and added additional conditions that the applicant had to meet. And these included items such as temperatures at which they could operate, hours of operation, and security measures, just to name a few. To date, Reflections has complied with and continues to meet all of those conditions. Under the new Land Use Bylaw 2296, group care facility is not a listed use and has been replaced by the category of supportive housing. The existing use is considered to be legal non-conforming under the Municipal Government Act and cannot be expanded on or added to. Supportive housing is currently only considered in the R2 and R3 residential land use districts under Bylaw 2296. As supportive housing is not included as a use within the C2 land use district, a bylaw amendment is necessary before a development permit application for expanded services at the subject parcel can be evaluated. As a result, in order to facilitate any continued development, administration is recommending that the subject site be redistricted to a direct control district to allow council to have direct oversight over this parcel. As part of the process for redistricting, a referral package was sent out to both internal and external agencies. No concerns were received during that process. Also, part of administration's review of the application is to review it against our statutory plans like the Municipal Development Plan. No inconsistencies were to note. A public hearing notice was prepared and published in the Weekly Anchor in the January 19th and January 26th publications and on the town's website on January 7th. Written notice was sent out to the surrounding landowners within 50 meters of the subject parcel on January 9th, as per section 4.2 of Land Use Bylaw 2296. In summary, the proposed redistricting would allow for the applicant, Reflections, to apply for a development permit in the future to expand the services they offer within their facility to ensure they qualify for provincial funding. And the redistricting would make council the development authority over these lands, and council would be responsible to render decisions on an application made to expand these services. Administration's recommendation is that council give second and third reading to Bylaw 2329 to amend Schedule B of Land Use Bylaw 2296 to redistrict the parcel legally described as lots 31 to 37, Block 6, Plan 1494AC, from the C2 Service Commercial District to the DCO Direct Control Open District. That is my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much for your presentation. Do any members of council have any questions or comments at this time? Councillor Wilson-Lair.
Through the Deputy Mayor to all of council and administration, mostly just comments. Thank you for your presentation again. First, I wanted to thank everyone who participated in the public hearing. The concerns shared and the success shared by all participants were thoughtful, respectful, and important for council to hear. I understand why direct control raises concerns, particularly around appeal rights and the responsibilities that it places on council. I do not take any of these concerns lightly, especially for this very site-specific location. The public record does reflect that council always has the right to hold a non-statutory public hearing on any matter they wish to gain feedback and insight into how their decisions will affect the public. At the same time, our community also has a responsibility to support vulnerable citizens and to invest in services that help prevent greater challenges in the future. Balancing those needs with the concerns of surrounding C2 businesses and property owners is not simple, and this decision required careful consideration of both. Hearing from local partners during the public hearing, including RCMP scoring data and perspectives and administration's responses to questions, provided helpful context and has informed my decision. Reflections is already operating at this site under an existing approval. The decision before council tonight is how this property should be regulated moving forward. In my view, direct control is the most appropriate tool for this site-specific location because it allows council to retain oversight and make future decisions transparently on a case-by-case basis, rather than making a broader change to the land use bylaw that would apply to many properties. It is also important to recognize that direct control is very often more restrictive for the landowner, not less. Future changes are not automatic and will require a formal application and council decision each and every time. After a long review, research study, and careful consideration of the public input and the planning framework before us, I will be supporting second and third reading.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson-Lair. Any other questions or comments at this time before we move on to our readings? Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to all of council and administration and those watching. again, I'm going to echo a lot of the same comments that Councillor Wilson-Lear did. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the submissions presented at the public hearing on February 3rd, both written and verbal. In reviewing all the information, it was obvious that there are different perspectives on this rezoning request. The point to remember, though, is that this is only a rezoning request, and any action in the future will still need to go through the proper processes. The rezoning to direct control will place the responsibility solely on this and future councils for any future development requests. There are many comments made in the community in relation to what those future changes may be. However, at this time, the only known potential request would be to a change of hours of operation, which will still require an application through the development permit process. In dealing with direct control lands, councils have a responsibility to be sure that when a development permit is submitted, they consider the request based on the need of the current user, the surrounding business impacts, and the impacts on the community as a whole, which I truly believe this council will consider. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Schramm. Councillor Taylor.
Through the Deputy Mayor to Council Administration and everybody watching either here or online, I echo what previous councillors said. I want to thank everyone who contributed their comments at the public hearing, everyone who spoke honestly, either for or against the redistricting, and gave their valid reasons as to why. I truly appreciate everyone taking the time to either speak or write a letter to take part in this process. In addition, there was a letter in favor of the redistricting from the Homelessness Task Force, a board that I sit on. That said, I made it clear to the board that I must abstain for the decision to send that letter because as a councillor, I must maintain an open mind when making decisions at when a public hearing is involved. Secondly, I feel the need to address a statement that was made towards me at the public hearing. Mr. Awashchuk spoke about how I was against the development near my home before being elected to council. This is true. However, there's a fundamental difference between this bylaw and the one I opposed several years ago. And it is at that time, myself and 200 other residents opposed a proposed development. Meanwhile, with this process, the development is already there. Ms. Oriot spoke about that in her closing statement. Reflections is already there. Other individuals spoke about moving Reflections. However, that's not what this bylaw is about. There were individuals that spoke about being for or against Reflections being a 24/7 facility. However, this bylaw is not about that either. However, if a development permit comes along later on down the road, the comments made at the public hearing will be taken into consideration. This bylaw is about who should have the final say in controlling permitting on this particular parcel of land that Reflections owns. Now, many people came forward because they're passionate about this issue. The reason why? Because the issue of homelessness comes down to safety. And it goes without saying that people are and should be passionate about their safety, whether that safety is real or perceived, and whether that safety is about unhoused individuals or housed individuals. Many people spoke along those lines at the public hearing. So when it comes down to the issue of safety and this controversial issue we're speaking about, the question becomes, who do you want to have the final say on controlling permitting on this parcel of land? If council made a textual amendment to allow housing to C2, then the persons with the final say would be the Intermunicipal Subdivision and Appeal Board, an unelected, appointed body where 50% of the board is from Hinton and doesn't even live in this community. However, if this council makes the decision to make it direct control, then this council, an elected body who is accountable to you, would make that decision. And don't forget that when the SDAB board makes their decision, they actually go into a closed session. Yes, they provide a written statement afterwards, but no one's privy to that conversation in closed session. Whereupon our decisions are made in full view of the cameras and we're live on the internet. We are totally accountable to the people. And you are, as any time, for any decision, can contact via text, Facebook, a phone call, email, and contact us to tell us your concerns or your support on any decision that we make, whether on this issue or others. And if we make decisions that later on down the road that you don't like, well, we're accountable to you, and that's why we have elections. Therefore, when it comes to this parcel of land, I support second and third reading of this bylaw, so it becomes DCO direct control open. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other comments at this time? Councillor Holden?
Yes, through the Deputy Mayor to council and those in the gallery and those watching online. Thank you for your input, however you did it, whether you submitted or whether you presented at it. It was a engaging conversation. I do believe that all business owners and residents are owed the respect for their hard work, their investment, not only into their businesses, but into the town as well. Making this decision based on the emotions of those participants who presented for or against this redistricting is incredibly difficult. And to make it on the facts presented is even more so. Many opinions were voiced, some based on perceptions, and some not necessarily on the facts. Having this property redistricted as requested is the only way to ensure that moving forward, council will be able to control any development permits now and in the future. In a perfect world, there would not be a need for supportive housing, food banks, mental health clinics, or rehab facilities. This is not a perfect world, and moving forward, I hope that all people work together to eliminate the need for them, and I will support this second and third readings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holden. As for myself, I would first like to thank everyone who spoke at the public hearing concerning this issue. I appreciate those who took the time to share their feelings on this proposed change. For those who oppose this change, I hope that no matter what Council's decision is tonight, that you'll continue to work with Reflections, the RCMP, Town Administration, and Council to address your concerns and any concerns you have moving forward. For those who spoke in favor of this change, my hope is the same, that we will be able to work together to address any issues and concerns that others may have. As for my decision, I'll be voting in favor of going to second and third reading. I believe that Reflections has worked hard to provide a much-needed service for some of the vulnerable members of our community. For those who spoke against the rezoning, even though they were against this rezoning, many still spoke and acknowledged the need for the service, but were simply more opposed to location. Reflections has, in my opinion, made a difference, not just for those who use its services, but the community as a whole. Calls concerning unhoused individuals to the RCMP are down. Having toured the facility, I believe they have excellent systems in place. One of the things that came up several times that I struggled with during the public hearing was speaking about homeless as all unhoused individuals were committing crimes. We know that is not the case. All unhoused individuals are not committing crimes, just as all people who are housed are sadly not exempt from committing crimes as well. One of the other parts that struck me from the public hearing was someone who spoke in favor, Tara, and she mentioned some of the clients for Reflections by name. I thought that was important, that we remember the clients at Reflections are not nameless people. They are people. They are members of our community who need extra assistance. Reflections includes many people who truly are trying to help others and our community, and my hope is that this rezoning will give Reflections future resources to continue their important work. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments before we move on to second and third reading? Seeing none, can I have someone give a motion for second reading? Councillor Schramm.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 2329.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns over second reading? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Can I have someone give a motion for a third reading to bylaw number 2329? Councillor Taylor.
I move that council give third reading to bylaw 2329.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is passed. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thanks everyone for working through that process with us. I will turn the chair back over to Mayor Zahara.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for that. I do know we have some members of the gallery that were here for this particular item, so feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting if you like, or if you have to leave, we certainly understand as well. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is Council Committee Bylaw number 2320. And we are going to be presented by Brett Hawken, our General Manager of Corporate Services. Go ahead, Mr. Hawken.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Mayor. We are here tonight to talk about second and third reading for Council Committee Bylaw. Quick refresher, the purpose of the bylaw is to promote consistency and transparency, reduce duplication, and align our council committees with public participation with municipal best practices. The three that are established under this bylaw are the FCSS Board, the Municipal Policing Committee, and Youth Council. Upon passing the bylaw tonight, the following bylaws will be repealed. The FCSS and Municipal Policing Bylaw are repealed through the adoption of this bylaw. That's why there's no motion tonight, and then there will be another motion to repeal the Youth Council policy. So bylaw changes following first reading. Through the motion made, we had the removal of the 50% plus one members must be Town of Edson residents from Schedule C, so Youth Council terms of reference. This also came from an administration for our two councillors who were not at the last meeting. We removed the 50% plus one requirement for FCSS as well, based on feedback that they received. As a quick refresher of why, this is when it went to the FCSS Advisory Board themselves for feedback. They gave us this, and administration determined that it was good rationale, therefore we removed it, and council that evening agreed. But for our two councillors, the rationale was currently the board has 4 Yellowhead County residents and 2 Town of Edson residents. In the most recent recruitment cycle, only one individual was turned away. That person was also a Yellowhead County resident. These are volunteer positions, which are getting harder and harder to recruit. The board members who reside in Yellowhead County expressed that they seek services in the town daily, either work, school, recreation, FCSS, as well as they expressed that they see Edson as their home community. When they are on the board, they don't bring a specific county agenda. They are here to help the Town of Edson. Therefore, based on that feedback, we also removed the 50% plus one for FCSS, both of which were adopted through first reading at the February 3rd meeting. We have a recommended amendment to add the general manager of Community and Protective Services, or the delegate, as the liaison for the Municipal Policing Committee. Reason being is currently it states that this is the manager of enforcement services. However, we are in a transition due to a recent retirement. Therefore, we wanted to ensure our bylaw was correct as we establish this committee moving forward. And I have one more last minute amendment for you because I recognized that as we rescind the Youth Council policy, it states that the students will get $500 if they do X, Y, Z. We transferred all of the X, Y, Z to this bylaw, but we didn't state that they're going to get $500. So you'll have a amendment to the bylaw that says tonight that that council amend the bylaw, Schedule C, Section 5.1, to state that youth council members are eligible to receive the bursary in the amount of $500, subject to meeting the attendance and volunteer hour requirements outlined in the bylaw. So it's just covering that base so they know that they can get the $500, so it's written down. Yeah, so those are our 3 changes following first reading. Secondly, consent form research and recommendations. So we went back and looked at options of if a parent could not or did not want to sign a consent form for the youth, would they still be able to participate? We looked at ways of, can you potentially use initials? Can you anonymize certain things? However, all of these practices were deemed impractical and also inconsistent with a council committee, which is a public body that is transparent to the public. We need to have a consent form. Legal told us this, which we will be incorporating regardless of how this bylaw goes, because it's through FOIP and the TIA and POPA Act that we must have the consent form. And again, the last point is that youth council is voluntary, and it involves applying for the board. It is not the same as school security requirements, because school is mandatory, and there's different legislation around what can be shared and what cannot be shared within the school system. However, this is a voluntary board, same as any extracurricular activity outside of municipal government. It's a voluntary choice. Therefore, there are consent forms that you must sign in order to do that specific activity. So to summarize, it aligns with the legal advice that we got that there must be a consent form. It treats youth council consistently across with all our other council committees, that we have to govern a certain way due to the Municipal Government Act. It avoids partial participation that undermines the transparency and accountability. However, we also can't legally do that because of the MGA says we must be, if it's a public council committee, it must be transparent to the public. We are not allowed to redact council or public bodies for the public. I keep saying the word public. But, lastly, again, I just want to reiterate this is a voluntary board. This is not a mandatory board. This is for people to choose to go on. So therefore, recommended action tonight, we have 5. I know there's 4 on the board, but the 5th one is the adding the $500 to the amended bylaw. So council, I'm asking for the 4 motions, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, before we get into the amendments to the amendments to the amendments, I'll open the floor to any questions for Mr. Hawken on this matter. I know it was discussed at length last meeting. Any questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor, if you, once you conclude the discussion, I do have a proposed amendment as well, but when you've concluded the discussion, I'll get to that.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Since I wasn't at the last meeting, I will speak to the removal of the 50% plus 1. That was something that I chatted or talked about at the original meeting. We discussed this, and Councillor Wilson Lear came to me after her meeting with the FCSS board to share what their thoughts were about the 50% plus 1. And I think some really good rationale was given by the members of the FCSS board as to why we should not have 50% plus 1. Many of the individuals that currently are on the board, I would argue, can make it to certain sections of the town quicker than I can from my house inside of town, based on their location. They live just within a kilometer of our limits. So to exclude them from participating, I can see how that would be detrimental. And I think my biggest concern is, having individuals on the farther reaches of the county applying for Town of Edson boards. However, if they're that interested in the Town of Edson, then have at her. At the end of the day, it's council's decision anyway to decide who gets appointed to those boards. So I will support the amendments that are proposed here this evening based on that and based on the really strong rationale given by the members of the FCSS board as well as the Edson Youth Council. So with that, I guess the first motion we'll look forward is Councillor Taylor's motion. If you want to put it on the screen, Ms. Williams. All right, we're going to go to Councillor Taylor.
I move the council amend bylaw 2320, section 8.3 by adding subject to the terms of reference for each committee, and further amend Schedule C by adding section 2.7 to read members' names and photos will be made public unless otherwise stated by parental consent. And I'd like to speak to that motion. So we're talking about two different types of consent. The first consent is the consent to join youth council. The second is the consent to have a child's name or photo be made public. Okay? So the first one we need parental consent, right? A parent's got to know what activities they're participating in no matter what. Okay? The second one, well, we may not need. And now the analogy was made into schools. Okay? The schools are mandatory. Fair enough. Okay, a parent needs to consent for a child to go to a particular school. They fill that out in their registration form. Separately on that registration form is a box that ticks whether they want the child's photo or name be made public, however they see fit. And there are lots of reasons why parents may not tick that box. Okay, I'll give you some examples. There could be a custody dispute. There could be a witness program. They could be a victim of an online predator where the parents don't want their name now publicized. They could be, and this is a thing, they could be a child of a First Nations band, and the band governs the authority of the child and provides funding for the child. But the reason why they're under the authority of the First Nations band is, well, they don't want their names released for whatever reason. No matter what that reason is, it's actually beyond that child's control. And when you think about youth council, the child just wants to join something that's pretty cool. Maybe their friends are part of it. Maybe they're interested in some way that they're interested in politics or whatnot. And they don't find any other place, but this is a place where they can go and they can feel safe and they can participate. And why wouldn't we let them? Right? We have scenarios within the school environment where, yes, a student goes to school, which is mandatory, but what's not mandatory at school is you can participate in lots of extracurricular programs, whether it be drama or athletics or students' council or March for a Cure, or I think Parkland has a GSA. You can participate in all those things without having your photo taken or your name being publicized. At times, we've had basketball teams win the championship, right? We take their photo as a team photo, and then we say, okay, Johnny, step out of the photo. We take a second photo without that student, and that photo goes on social media. It can happen here too. And I would hate to see certain students who would belong and would thrive to be a part of this if we couldn't give them that opportunity, because I'll just say it. I don't think the lawyers knew any of those consent things. Okay? So, yeah, those are my comments. Yeah, I stand by this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any discussion on the motion on the floor? We'll just hand things over to Mr. Hawken. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the Mayor to Councillor Taylor. Two pieces on this motion. The first of the subject to the terms of reference for each committee. That's already taken care of in section 4.2. We say this bylaw applies to all council committees established under it unless a committee's specific terms of reference as set out in the attached schedule state otherwise. So we don't necessarily need that first part. And then to establish the members' names and photos will be made public unless otherwise stated by parental consent. In section 197 of the MGA, it states that council committees must conduct their meetings in public. Unless subsection 2 or 2.1 applies. However, if we are trying to create the same consistency and transparency of our other council committees, how are we able to protect certain ones if anyone from the public would be able to attend, is my one question for Councillor Taylor.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the Mayor to GM Hawken, thank you. We can certainly make that change in terms of the first part of the motion. To the second part, This was the challenge of trying to make youth council seem like the other two, because they are very different. We've been through this process from day one. You found out that they're very different than the other two. And to the statement of like, well, they're supposed to be public and those types of things. Well, students participate in drama and they're on stage, they're seen. But sometimes we don't put their name in the playbill for whatever reasons the parents want. And whatever reasons the parent says, it's none of our business. Students participate in basketball teams, hockey teams. And if the parent says, I don't want my child's name on the back of the jersey, they'll do it. They'll take it off. And not forgetting, and I do have to say this, we are talking about youth council here, right? It's supposed to be a fun and engaging thing, and we're trying to hold it to the same standard of some of these other super, I'm not saying the youth council is not important, but it can be just that environment that's totally different than the other two. And I think if we're denying students that aspect to participate, I'll be honest, it's the wrong thing to do, right? And again, all these scenarios that I listed here are beyond the child's control. There it is.
All right, so Councillor Taylor, are you amending your motion? Go ahead.
Through the mayor, yes, I will amend the motion to read, I guess it would be that council amend bylaw 2320, and then Schedule C by adding section 2.7 to read members' names and photos will be made public unless otherwise stated by parental consent.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor that council amend bylaw 2320, Schedule C by adding section 2.7 to read members' names and photos will be made public unless otherwise stated by parental consent. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. Why do I feel that that's backwards? And maybe you can clarify, because to me it would be will not be made public unless otherwise stated by parental consent, or unless denied by or lack of parental consent. Like to me, I feel like we're missing something there.
I would have to agree, Councillor Pisichny. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council. Consent works both ways, whether you tick the box or you don't. Right? I consent to ticking the box. I don't consent to. I mean, we can change that motion if it's a comfortable motion to make. I can say members' names and photos will not be made public unless otherwise stated by parental consent, if that's suitable to Mr. Mayor and to Councillor Pisichny.
So, Councillor Taylor, the way it reads right now, it states we will automatically put the names out there publicly. So I would prefer the other way, that parental consent is needed in order for us to release that information.
So members' names will not be made public? Is that?
Will not be made public unless otherwise stated by parental consent.
I was trying to follow the rule of not putting knots in the motion, all right? I know that the administration and legal doesn't like that, but all right, so here we are. I'm putting a knot in there. Just one knot, though.
You really know how to complicate things, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Fogarty.
Here we are.
So I agree with everything Councillor Taylor said. However, my concern lies in the fact, like I agree youth council should be accessible to all. It is often out of the child's control. My concern lies in the fact that youth council is often a very public organization out doing many things in the community, and that there could be photos, there could be minutes that are available to the public where a person could be accidentally included if we're not very, very careful. And I think that puts an extra level of stress on those who are in charge of youth council. And that, like I said, I agree with everything you're saying. I don't want to restrict, but I am concerned about the possibility of this being accidentally, and what is our liability should it accidentally be a photo, a name, so forth, be shared, and where do we go then?
Thank you. Sato Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like GM Hawken to go through what the criteria is to receive the bursary.
Thank you. Go ahead, GM Hawken.
Thank you, Mayor. In order to receive the bursary, the youth council must attend a minimum of 5 meetings with no more than 3 unexcused absences and complete 16 volunteer hours per term at a nonprofit organization or community event.
Thank you. Counselor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Fogarty, that risk exists within the schools as well. Yes, there's and I know this because I handle the social media for our school. And yes, I'm given a list. And yes, I have to go through those photos to make sure certain individuals are not in there. Right? Now, if everyone has that box ticked, then there's no problem. If one student or one child doesn't, then we just note that. Yes, it's an extra layer of accountability. That being said, being at public events and other photos being taken, that could be the same of any event, of any child taking part in anything, right? And that could be school events as well, in terms of photos of children or kids playing on a basketball team. Other parents could be taking photos and unaware.
GM Hawken.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have to note from an administrative perspective that if we were to get FOIP'd, or if we were to get POPA'd or ATIA'd through the legislation, that legislation would override this bylaw, and that youth would most likely become public through that process. So I just wanted to make a note of that for council, regardless of what we put in the bylaw. That legislation overrides our council committee bylaw.
Counselor Fogarty.
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, I agree. I still just struggle with the fact that Youth Council is out there so publicly at many public events, Canada Day and so on, where they could be exposed to those pictures. Would the parent consider it being our fault should members of the public take those pictures? And would we have an issue then? So that's just the struggle I'm having with this particular motion. Thank you.
Counselor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Deputy Mayor Fogarty. Yeah, I can hear parents having those concerns. I hear your concerns. The same concerns exist within our school events as well. They have to know that. To GM Hawkins' point, then we just simply tell that parents ahead of time that there is that possibility that could occur. And if the parents are still saying, okay, all right, then at least, and here's the thing, I'm just going to call it FOIP. If it gets FOIP'd, then for whatever reason, someone could possibly do that. I would find that to be wildly unlikely. It could happen, but there's that. But I guess we tell the parents ahead of time. And then let them proceed on.
Counselor Pizzicini.
Yeah, thank you. Through the mayor to council, maybe Councillor Taylor. I'm not sure who. I'm sitting with Deputy Mayor Fogarty on this one. That this is a very public board. If you're in witness protection program, you're not going to run for town council. We're not a school. We're a municipality. We have community rules, and we're trumped by the MGA. So I don't think that us at this table can sit here, like we had a legal opinion on. Legal opinion said it should be public. I think it's unfortunate. Not everything in life is fair. And I think really at the end of the day, we're trying to trump legislation that beats us out. So I don't know how we can do it. Like you can't, if we don't have newspapers anymore, but in the days of newspapers, the newspaper can come by and take a picture of youth council, any one of their locations, and publish that, just like they do to town councilors and mayors. So I think we're really, I get it. And I don't want everyone to see somebody not be able to do something. But again, if you have those challenges in your life, not everything in life is fair.
Thank you, Counselor Pizzicini. Anybody else have any comments before I make mine? So appreciate the discussion on this matter. I think it's, I think the safety of our students and our children and our community are paramount. However, as was stated earlier, this is a public body that is being appointed by council. And while I appreciate Councillor Taylor's perspective and passion on this, you're often seeing this through a lens of somebody that works in the school system. We're around this table. I think we're elected to see this through the lens of the MGA and through the lens of the community as a whole. I certainly don't want to see any students not being able to participate in youth council. But we've had youth council now for 7 years, going on 8 years. We've never had an issue, as far as I'm aware. The MGA is quite clear. Minutes for any town council committee are public, so you cannot redact the names of the people that are in those meetings. Youth council has to come to council once a year, or has been coming to council once a year to participate in meetings, very public. And it's unfortunate that maybe there might be the occasion that there might be a child that might not be able to participate, but unfortunately that's the rules of the game when you're in a public body like this. This is not a school system. This is not a school function. This is a function of the municipal government, and as a function of government, things should be done open and transparently. And if some child is not able to participate, that is unfortunate, but that is also sometimes life, as Councillor Pisichny said, is unfair. So I struggle with supporting this motion for the fact that I just can't see us how we can redact names out of minutes that are publicly available, that should be publicly available, as well as so many different events that youth council participates in. There's so many people snapping pictures. I don't think we can take on the liability or the responsibility for somebody snapping a picture at a public event, posting it online, and then having an upset parent because we didn't have a consent form for this. So unfortunately, I will not be able to support this motion. Any other further discussion on this matter? Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor and the rest of council, I just wanted to echo what you guys what you've all said. And I think as far as anyone who wasn't able to participate due to custody disputes or online predator type that kind of thing, that really needs to be dealt with through the RCMP and the appropriate courts. So there's mechanisms for that kind of thing to be dealt with. As far as putting on a public board and our constraints by the MGA, I think I would not be supporting that motion as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other further comment, questions, or concerns on the motion before us? Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
Yes, through the mayor to all of council. The ability to partake in municipal government is a paramount, and it is a public spectacle, let's put it that way. It is unfortunate that if some youth was not able to partake in the council because of a potential public display of their picture and or their names, it is unfortunate, but I also am echoing several other councillors in that that would just it against the Municipal Government Act. It is required for us, and I would be concerned about the liability if it inadvertently happened. Thank you.
Any other further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion fails. We will move on to the next motion, please. That council amend bylaw number 2320, Schedule B, Section 2.2, to replace Enforcement Services Manager with General Manager of Community Protective Services and remove Schedule B, Section 2.3F. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Do you want me to move that?
You can move that, yeah.
I so move.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. There was another motion, Mr. Hawken. Can I get a motion, please, on the one that's on the screen here? Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
I move that council amend bylaw number 2320, Schedule C, Section 5.1, to state that youth council members are eligible to receive a bursary in the amount of $500, subject to meeting the attendance and volunteer hour requirements outlined in the bylaw.
Go ahead, CAO Beverage. Man, I'm hard for words today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for a matter of clarification, it's $500 per year. I think we would like to probably include that within the motion.
Okay, with that friendly amendment, Council Wilson-Lear?
I make that motion with the amendment.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Our next motion. All right, second reading to bylaw number 2320. Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 2320 as amended.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion. All those opposed? That motion is carried. And can I get a motion, please, for a third reading? Go ahead, Councillor Fogarty.
I move that council give third reading to bylaw number 2320 as amended.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. And can I get a motion, please, that council repeal Youth Council Policy CS7? Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
I move that council repeal Youth Council Policy CS-7.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you for keeping me on my toes there, Councillor Taylor. All right, we're going to move on to community grant recommendations, January 2026 intake. And I believe Council Wilson-Lear, you have a conflict.
Mr. Mayor, I'll excuse myself from the discussion of this matter due to a pecuniary interest as a family member may benefit under Section 170 Sub 1 of the Municipal Government Act.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson-Lear. So we'll just wait for you to leave the room. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Though, is that for the actual motion that's occurring or the presentation that's occurring?
Would be for both,
Okay, then I'll have to declare pecuniary interest as well.
but you're not making a decision on.
I know, but that's what I have pecuniary interest with the CAO appointed.
But we're not making the decision on that.
Okay, so then I'm okay to stay.
You're okay to stay, Councillor Pisichny.
All right.
Thank you. We will hand things over to Community Services Manager Tanya Byers.
Good evening, everyone. We're here today to discuss the community grant recommendations for our January intake. And we're certainly getting a lot of interest, which is nice to see. The Community Grants Program has a total budget of $55,000 for this year. 12 applications were submitted, totaling $32,460.55. Applications were reviewed and scored by a committee of 5 community services staff members, each application assessed individually using our evaluation matrix. Applications requesting $2,500 or less were submitted to the acting CAO, Mr. Hawken, at the time for approvals, while those exceeding $2,500 are being presented tonight to council for consideration. And these were presented in your packages. I won't go through them line by line, but if anyone has any questions or comments, would this be a good time to voice them?
Anybody have any questions or comments on the administrative approvals presented before us? Seeing none, continue on.
So before you is 2 requests that were above the $2,500 threshold. So we have one from the Royal Canadian Legion and one from the Edson Dance Academy. And what has been recommended by our committee is that 5,000 be granted to the Royal Canadian Legion, and that the Edson Dance Academy summer camp request be denied. And the next steps would be that administration will communicate decisions to the applicants and execute approved grant agreements. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Byers. Council will open the floor to questions, comments, concerns. Go ahead, Councillor Fogarty.
I just wanted to thank the committee for giving detailed explanations in the package for approvals and those who are not approved. It helped to clarify the reasons, so they were detailed and specific. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I will take a motion. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the mayor to administration, just a quick question. I know we had allocated 55,000, we only spent 32. Is there going to be a second grant cycle midway through the year? If you can expand on that a little bit?
Yes, there will be a second one, and I'm not sure what the actual dates are, but it'll be open over the summer, and I believe it'll come back to council in September with decisions. Yeah.
Thank you. With that, I will take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Fogarty.
I move that council approve the community grant recommendations totaling $5,000 as presented.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? I'll just say that it's fantastic that we're going to have this event on in our community. I think it's going to be a nice addition, and I know that the Legion will certainly appreciate the support, and all that money always flows back into the community as well, as was noted in the presentation. So certainly in support of this. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Byers. So we are going to wait for Councillor Wilson Lear to come back into the room, and we are going to move on to our next item, which is public member appointments to the Municipal Policing Committee. Councillor Wilson Lear is joining us, and I will have to remove myself once again due to potential or perceived conflict of interest on this appointment.
Thank you, Mayor Zahara. Thank you, Miss Williams, who is our legislative officer. If you can please give us your presentation.
Yeah, good evening, Council. Administration has completed interviews to fill the current public member vacancies on the Municipal Policing Committee. As these applications include personal information as well as confidential evaluations, it would be recommended Council move into closed session to discuss.
Thank you so much. Can I have someone, Councillor Pasichny, make a motion to move into closed session?
Yeah, I move that the meeting move into closed session pursuant to the Access Information Act, Section 20, disclosure on unbroken personal privacy, and Section 22, confidential evaluations to discuss public member applications.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? Thank you. We'll move into closed session. All right, as we come back out of closed session, can I have someone make the motion as presented? Councillor Schramm.
I move that council appoint the following municipal policing committee members with terms commencing February 17th, 2026 and expiring October 31st, 2027 of Pete Jewer and Devin Talpash.
Thank you, Councillor Schramm. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Can we have Mayor Zahara come back into the room? And I'll turn the chair back to him.
All right, thank you, everyone. We have council committee reports. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept the February 17th, 2026 council committee reports as set out in attachments 1 through 5 for information? Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
I motion that council accept the February 17th, 2026 council committee reports as set out in attachments number 1 through number 5 for information.
Thank you. Is there anything in the committee reports that anyone would like to highlight, or any questions coming from those committee reports? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no information items, no notices of motion, no closed session items, and no business arising from closed. So with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:14.